Hi, this is a response to Brother Nero, R.J. Womack's podcast, Why Are Satanists So Nasty to Each Other Online? And we're particularly thinking about religious Satanists, theistic Satanists here, as to what can we do and what our situation is. I think RJ makes some very good points. I think he generally does. In fact, I think he's a really good podcaster, and I highly recommend his podcast. It's called Dark Illuminations Report, and I'll put the link to the podcast and also to the YouTube video for the latest podcast just below this video, so you can actually check it out. I do recommend it. Now, when he was thinking about what are the things which are wrong and which need to change before our situation can change as theistic Satanists and as religious Satanists, he identified two main things at the end of the video. One is the dominance of atheism, and the other is the dominant influence of left-hand path occultism within Satanism. I think we can kind of it's pretty obvious why these things are so dominant, but the thing is, what do they lead to for us, and what effect do they have on our situation when they become so dominant? And I think they do become problematic for us as a religious community. I would agree with him on that. So we see the sort of situation we have, whereby so many Satanists seem to be rather fractious, egotistical, aggressive, and really unwilling to respect each other or work together. It's like they're all, they're like this little box of Nietzschean superheroes bouncing around, and it's all quite, it's small, really. It's honestly, it seems to think of itself as being very important, but really it doesn't achieve very much. It's just a small echo chamber with a mass of loud voices screeching in it, So, if we're religious Satanists, then we want to actually be a religion, and as a religious community, we want to treat each other well. We want to help each other to live. We want to help each other to thrive, and we want the religion to thrive, and we want the love of Satan to come to the forefront. This is kind of, I think that's pretty obvious. But to return to those 2 points, what would be the antidote to these two things: the dominance of atheism and the dominance of left-hand path occultism? I think we can look at these two things, and we're talking about things that we can do. We're not talking about strategies out in the world or something. We're talking about our lives, what we do, because we are the people who make up this religion. We are the people who make up this community. And we want it to be a real community. So what can we do? Well, in terms of the atheism, the things I think to emphasize and to focus on would be faith, and then openness to spirituality and devotion. I think those would be the most important to overcome this mindset whereby a kind of, it's basically closed off to spirituality. You know, they'll claim it's not. They'll claim that, you know, you can be spiritual without this, you can be spiritual without that. That's fine for atheists, you know. That's fine. That's part of their thing, you know. But honestly, there are things which go much deeper than that, and religion hasn't been important to human beings for pretty much, I think, as long as we've existed, for nothing, you know. Religion has changed in form, it's changed in shape, it's changed in quality, yeah. It's not always scriptural. It's not always law-based and stuff like this, which is what we grew up with, things like Christianity or Islam or Judaism, yeah. So it's been different at different times, but religion has been a solid basis for people's lives. That's the truth of the matter, you know. And so we can think about building our lives on solid bases. Now, we have to really, I think, get over that subliminal aversion which we pick up from our conditioning, yeah. Either in terms of the desire to overcome the religions we grew up in and rebel against them, which that's fine, but you know, you have to get past that at the same time and start engaging in your own religion. And the other conditioning comes from modern secular atheism, which has become very hip, you know, but it's actually quite shallow. It's actually quite shallow, really. So we need to get over those two things, I reckon. We need to get over those two things and actually focus on our own faith. And we need to think of our religion as a faith. And we need to be open to spiritual experience. And to the very important thing of devotion to Satan. Now the other thing, and I think this also deals with the emphasis on left-hand path occultism, and what we maybe need to do to balance that, because I myself am an occultist. Occultism is an important part of my work, you know. It is work, you know, but it's a part of my studies, it's a part of my work. But this is, I don't think you can say that this is exactly central to the everyday part of religion. It's not really, you know. It's actually not. It's important for me, but in terms of building our religion, we need to shift the focus, and I think the focus needs to be shifted to the everyday life of ordinary people, because that's where a religion actually works. That's where it grows. That's where it supports people. That's where it takes people through crises. That's where it helps them with all manner of things, whether it's relationships, child rearing, approaching death, thinking of the afterlife. These are all very deep experiences and questions, and they're universal. And any religion needs to be able to address them. And I don't just mean in some kind of a doctrinal sense. It needs to be able to embrace and support people who are living this religion in all of these areas. And I think this is really important, and I'm brought back to the sense of a household religion, a religion which takes place in our homes, a religion which takes place in our families, a religion which takes place in our life, in our everyday life. That's what our Satanism actually is, you know. It's it's romantic and it's perfectly understandable that we seek out the mysteries. This is also a good thing. It's an important thing. It's understandable that we seek out things which are for a lot of people a little bit out there, maybe, you know. But those aren't the things that make up our life, to be truthful. The things that make up our life are much more everyday. They look small, but they're actually very deeply important to us. And we all know that. We all know that. We all know the importance of having someone that we love and who loves us. We all know the importance of seeing children grow up and find good lives. And we all know the importance of finding a way to cope with the actual reality of death. These are the things we should be thinking about as Satanists. For each other. For each other we should be thinking about this, I think. We need to think about these things. And we need to engage with them. And the support is there. The support is there from Satan for us. But we actually have to support each other. We actually have to build for each other and build with each other. And we can do that. We've got a deep religion. We have an extraordinary living religion for anyone who's really experienced the other world, who's experienced the presence of Satan and whatever entities it is we're dealing with. Yeah, but Satan, let's put Satan at the top and at the center, because that's where he should be. But we need to take all this that we are actually given by our Lord Satan. We need to take this and we need to actually serve each other and help each other and work for each other. Yeah, so, and I think the best way to start that is as a household religion. I think that's more important than building temples or holding impressive rituals where you might get all sorts of phenomena or what have you. This is actually more important for us as a religion, and I think the lack of that is why you have a really silly performance, a silly spectacle online, which bears no comparison to an actual religion or an actual community. And so that's another thing I actually think comes into this. We need to kind of like pull back from the internet. We use it because it's very helpful for us. It's very useful. It's very useful for any group which is geographically scattered. It's immensely important. But I think we need to pull back from the virtual world and do things in the real world, you know, whether that's meeting up with people, producing actual fanzines or magazines, writing actual books, doing actual artwork. You can do stuff on your own. You can do stuff. You don't have to be in touch with loads of people in actual everyday life to be doing stuff physically. If you produce things that you can hold, then you have brought something into this world for the sake of Satan and for the sake of the community. You can do this. But I think it's important that we do stuff physically. We need it in the flesh. We need it in matter. So we need to also build this as well. And maybe step back from this like highly charged, volatile virtual world of the internet. Use it, but know that it's only a tool and that the real work takes place offline. Now, you know, as for the priesthood, or the idea of a priesthood, I think we need to get a clearer sense of what priesthood is, yeah. And I would say that a priesthood is about service of the community in everyday situations, and it's about devotion to Satan, yeah. So that's what a priesthood is really about, yeah. It's not about being some big esoteric poobah that sort of like, you know, some high muckety muck that's got loads of power, you know. That's not a very useful priest, to be truthful, yeah. They could have their place, absolutely they could have their place, but it's a limited place. And I think what we need to do is actually build from the inside out. Build from the inside out through example. You know, so that people can see that priesthood is about the religion and the community, and it's about Satan. It's not about power and summoning or glamour. Glamour is extremely empty. It always proves to be empty. So it's not about power. It's not about glamour. It's not about summoning. It's not even about being leaders, yeah. It's actually about serving. That's what priesthood is about. That's what priesthood is about. And we need to actually show and live that, you know, Satanists are really characterized by their love for Satan, you know, not by, you know, by rebellion, you know, which is something everyone goes through. It's necessary, but yeah, you know, again, get over it, you know. And it's not about supercharged personal identity. You'll find that that's quite empty as well after a while. It's necessary to have, you know, the right attitude to life and to yourself. It's necessary to be able to hold your own. It's necessary to be able to stand in your being as a Satanist. But being able to stand needs being able to carry things which would normally irritate you, yeah? It needs being able to be skillful. It needs being able to respond rather than react. You know, this is what standing in your actual power means. This is what standing in your ability means. This is what maturity means. And Satanism is also very much about maturity. So we need to get over a lot of these things and learn to serve, really. Learn to serve Satan and the community. And then we can have very rich lives, you know. We need to do this. We need to do this. If we could do it, we could all do it. We can all start it. We can all start it. So that's my that's my response to Brother Nero's podcast. Again, I've put the link below to Brother Nero's podcast and to the latest podcast about this subject, which is on YouTube as well. And I do thank Brother Nero for his great output. Well worth listening to. I think he's well ahead of the game, and is a very sincere man, and I really appreciate that. So thank you, Brother Nero, and thank you for listening and watching. Bye bye.